Fuck it, we're doing it in portrait mode. I don't feel like holding the camera sideways. And, I don't feel good. Fucking stomach ache. From, from food that shouldn't be eaten. Anyways, so, good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Whatever it is, wherever you are. In my case, I'm just waking up, and it is 1:30 in the morning. Don't ask. I can't explain. I have no idea what the hell prompted this particular scheduling of this day. But it's been an interesting and eventful weekend. But there was something I was thinking about, and I realized when I had first told this detail, which is data possibly relating to the Russian psychological warfare campaign against this country, from my own personal experience, from my past, that seems related. I didn't mention a key detail because I suppose I didn't really notice it until I was just sort of reliving it a few minutes ago. Just at random. Prompted by my current watching of the Bleach movie, which is already disappeared from view. I was gonna show the little icon thing, but oh well. Yeah, it's copyrighted material, and only I'm not allowed to use copyrighted material. I'm fully convinced. I can hear thoughts in the future before they even happening, and to address the person in the future who's thinking about this, um, you always set up patsies for anything that you want to do to cover something up, like a natural, like it's almost as natural as applying paint. Okay, patsies. How many people in the Internet Research Agency, for instance, were simply making fake YouTube channels so that YouTube can shut them down, so that YouTube has data, statistics, if you will, that prove that it's an accountable platform, you know? That's what I mean by only I don't get to share copyrighted shit. There's people all over YouTube who get to do fair use commentaries. There's people all over YouTube who just upload news footage. There's some that stick around for a long time, and there's some that don't. And YouTube just shuts them down like they're supposed to. What's the difference? Some are meant to be there. They're not real channels, but they're planned based on a model of sustainability. We're going to get people to subscribe to this. We're going to feed them this information. That way we have control of whatever Viewmaster slide they have loaded at any given time. And and therefore determine their blind spots. Well, you can also with a few mouse clicks, if you're a Russian, set up 1,000 accounts, streaming 1,000 different copyrighted materials, uploading different, Fox News, MSNBC, CBS, CNN. They'll make 1,500 different channels like that in a day, just to shut them down, so that when somebody comes investigating, oh, why is this channel there? And they're allowed to get away with copyrighted shit. And then this channel gets flagged for copying my channel, something like that. JQ, political activist with rich parents who give a fuck. As opposed to mine. Although neither of my parents are rich anymore. One of them's retired and the other's dead, so what you gonna do? I've never known anyone as obsessed with their retirement as my dad. He's one of them vacation people. You know them vacation people? Always telling you about some trip they just went on. I'm like, man, if I had that much extra money to spend, I'd fucking maintain my car. Oh, you're going on another trip. Oh. It's funny, when I had the slightest bit of money and my friend needed tires, I went and bought them tires without them fucking asking. How am I related to these people? I don't know. You might have heard of the Morris family. They got some greedy ones. That's how I learned about people who want to be judgmental of other people to cover up the fact that they're just fucking greedy. They're just selfish. They're just fucking narcissists. Just self-obsessed. Me, my stomach's been in knots since I was a kid because I'm worried about this disaster of a world that we live in. And then I properly diagnosed the syndrome at about the age of 15 when I invented the phrase cranial rectal syndrome. These people have their heads up their asses. Something must be done. Anyways. But it was about when I was 17 or 18 that the point of this video actually really happened. Now, a little bit of back into what prompted it. The Bleach movie, okay? A particular moment in the Bleach movie is when Byakuya and Renji are on the terrace near the graveyard overlooking the city on a little balcony kind of looking place, and they're talking about he's here. Grand Fisher's doing his thing, right? Renji makes kind of like this. Kind of. It's a well-acted face, well-researched something. It's probably an experienced actual martial artist. Knows the feeling of relishing battle. It's not something that JQ actor guy, would be capable of. And I remembered the difference. It should be one of those coined terms, like the method, the method. That's the form of acting that I am trained in, most adept with. I put myself into the character, right? The difference. That should be a thing. The difference. The difference I'm talking about is the difference between JQ actor guy and that motherfucker right there. The difference between JQ actor guy and me. There's no level of intense, different type of scene that I couldn't pull off. Not old wizard, not bad guy, not, goofy protagonist, nothing. That guy's experience, as far as I know, might just be in the martial arts type film industry, right? He might not be that diverse of an actor, but obviously he's a very experienced actor. I'm a very experienced and diverse actor because I'm a very experienced and diverse person. See, the type of actor you are is usually determined by the type of actual life that you've lived. And that's what makes method acting the best manner of acting. You see somebody doing a really unique role, they've probably had some really unique experiences to apply to that. I myself, well, when it comes to experiencing, I've been running through life like the fucking Kool-Aid man, just smashing through the walls. Like, how can I fuck this up, Really skinny version of the Kool-Aid guy. But the difference, it's always something I've noticed, like, there's, in theater class in high school, which, I have my life experience is what I'm talking about when I say experience. My acting experience is actually relatively limited. And this is kind of why. This is what made me not want to be an actor anymore, really. When I was fucking 18, and I was like, oh, yeah, I'm just gonna get a job at a grocery store. Fuck this. Going into the military. Need me a jobby job to finish high school because these people ain't gonna do it for me. You see the difference in high school. It's very clear. And it gives you an idea of the ratio of most people to those good actors. And most of those really good actors are girls, right? Most people in theater, in school will tell you that far more girls are interested in acting than boys. But you do get guys that are good, who actually want to be there, But there's, I would say, 3 different levels of people that become very obvious to anyone in a theater class. There's the people who have had very sheltered lives, who really are committed to acting, but there's only so much depth to their characters because there's only so much depth to them. Okay? Those are the people right in the middle, right? I didn't want to flick off the camera, but it's like the middle. Then there's the people who just wanted to get out of a different class. They're like, oh, I can act. Yeah, acting's easy. This is going to be an easy class. Let me take fucking theater class. And some of them might actually, get into it and like, oh, yes, look at me, I'll be all acting. You do it for a year. And then they move on to, wood shop or whatever. They'll learn how to carve a duck. Because that's important. In case you need a bath toy. Those of you who had to carve a duck in wood shop are laughing your asses off right now. I mean, what am I talking about? Nobody ever watches his videos. Anyways, that would be funny if people actually did. But it's just sad. No, it's still funny. Shit. Ha, I managed to mute on the phone live stream. Oh. But anyways. So I still haven't gotten to the data, the very, very interesting piece of data. The story is leading to it, trust me. Yeah, I'm getting there. But you see, I need to give background information to give credibility to my analysis, to give credibility to my memory of the situation. Give you an idea how well I remember those years, these people. Let's see, my teacher was Susan Muth, all 4 years of high school. She wound up, because of the talented bunch that she had accumulated in her gifted honors little extra acting theater arts class, Theater 2, she had convinced the school to let her make a new Speech 1 and 2 talented program. And all these talented freshmen that she had found wound up having a 4-year theater experience. It was really cool. Before that, it was just Theater 1, 2, and Stagecraft. And we got Theater 1, 2, Stagecraft, and Speech 1 and 2 talented. I never actually took Stagecraft. I would just go and, I didn't need to take Stagecraft. I'm a creative person. I can fucking build anything. Anything. You want a car? I can build you an entire fucking car. Okay? Sounds fun, actually. Just design a car from the ground up and just start welding metal together. It would be easier if I could outsource a few parts. But, still. If money is no object, I get the fucking machine tools I need, and I can build a fucking car. Build a house. Build a plane. I could build a plane. I know all the fucking hydraulic principles involved in controlling rudders, and I know lots about the different types of engines used. What can I say? I'm a Renaissance man. Oh, Renaissance. Oh wait, that's a subject from the other channel. Then again, I don't give a fuck anymore. I'm just kind of bleeding over on this video, aren't I? This is Easy Reefers or is The Lost Begotten? I don't know. I don't care. I'm fucking pissed. And no, that's not acting. I'm genuinely fucking pissed off. Like there's a young man's rage that you really feel. And there's an old man's rage when they don't think they could be any fucking more surprised than they ever were. I'm more surprised than I ever fucking thought I would be. I thought by this age, not so much I would have shit figured out, but like the world would have progressed to a certain point, not just fucking spiraled back in on itself and imploded into a big shit ball. That about sums it up, doesn't it? Imploding shitball of science. That's the world. The imploding shitball of science in space. I don't know why I just had to say it that way. It felt right. Steve Martin and Martin Short. Oh, I gotta check that out. What is that? Oh, of course it goes away as soon as I hit a button. Speaking of acting, those are some great fucking actors right there. And like, let me just say, like, people who didn't grow up wanting to be actors, or like, you know, at least have like a phase for a few years where they wanted to be an actor. I didn't know that I wanted to be an actor. I simply enjoyed the process, and I thought, because of my vast fucking life experience, that I was like destined to be one of the great actors or something like that, right? Thought it was a possibility. I didn't convince myself of it by any means. You know, I have a hard time convincing myself of anything. Anything. I think I'm holding a phone right now, but that may not be my hand. Okay, what the fuck? What the fuck? Shut the fuck up, you stupid fucking piece of shit. I fucking hate Netflix. It's gonna randomly start playing shit. It just starts playing shit. You don't fucking want anything to play. You're just trying to look through a menu of stuff to play, and it's just playing shit. Can't even just fucking sit it there and leave it alone. No, it starts playing shit. Gonna get a copyright strike from fucking Netflix trying to shove its cock down everyone's throat. Fuck's sake. But anyways, so now that we're all done wondering what Netflix's cock looks like, just wanted to leave an uncomfortable silence there for a minute. Let's see, how do I continue? Dingo's sleeping, and he's just like twitching this ball and then raising it up. Twitch, twitch, raise up off the ground. This is bizarre. Hold on. Can I? What is he dreaming about? Is my dog dreaming about being a Nazi? Oh, almost. Little Nazi dingo. Sieg. Heil. I can't even with this shit. My dog's dreaming about being a fucking Nazi. Well, maybe not. He doesn't look like he's goose stepping. Anyways. Back to whatever the hell I was saying. Yeah. Who cares? Nobody's watching. And if you like the video, it's just gonna fucking disappear. I watched like 3 likes just disappear earlier. I watched one disappear right after the person in the live stream left it. They liked the video. A few seconds later, just like fucking disappeared. Then 1, and then back to 0. Isn't that something? Let's put the camera right in the middle of the sheets for no reason. Shit. Or I could drop the phone down there. Because we're professionals here. Keeping it classy all the way to Christmas. YouTube cares. Anyways. So, back in Miss Muth's class, not to be confused with Myth Moose's class, because, you know, that's like the older cousin of Santa Claus's reindeer or something, and I don't really know much about that. So there was, let's see, Tiffany, this little elfish black girl. I know that's kind of a contradiction, but elfish black girl. And she was the one. We were doing these quotes. And the one thing that, like, I used to always tease her about. The quote was, "You blocks, you stones, you worse than senseless things, knew you not Pompey." And she came out, this little bitty tiny black girl, came out with this, "You blocks, you stones." You, like, she was like gutturally belting. "Know you not Pompey?" Like, she went like old man impression for no reason. And you know, it was like maybe 7 or 8 of us in this class. It was a very small class. It was a little gifted 3rd fucking year thing, right? Just falling out of our chairs. Even the teacher fell out of her little fucking desk. We were in them little chairs with the little, like the little tiny desk-lit top thing that flipped like that. Have you ever seen those? The fuck are those things? It's like a cross between a desk and a ping pong paddle. I don't fucking know. Yeah, if you broke one of those off, you could probably beat the shit out of someone pretty effectively with them. Like, It's like a fun little weapon just sitting there pretending to be a desk. Anyways, sorry. The thought of Pompeii gets me riled up. Kidding. Why is he our Secretary of State now? How is a fucking asshole from 2,000 years ago reincarnated as Secretary of State with the same name? With the same name. He looks the same and he's got the same name. He's got the same attitude. It's just weird. Anyways. He was like the Donald Trump of the time. Yeah. Rhetorical, nonsensical, populist windbag. Pompeii. But what would I know about 2,000 years ago? Oh yeah. Everything you don't. Pretty much. Anyways, but we're not talking about 2,000 years ago. We're talking about 1998-ish. 1998-ish. Shit that I remember a little bit more clearly. So there was Tiffany, Leslie, Dingo, you weren't in the class. Okay. Stop chewing. Leslie, pale Jewish lesbian country girl. I know that's a lot, but she was all of those things. She's very nice girl. She had short, curlyish, reddish brown hair. Very good actor. Very good actor. On the level of, like, committed their whole life, but still relatively mundane life experiences. Okay. There was Tim. Good actor. Still on the limited life experience. There was Rebecca Helson. Tim, let me get back to before I skip over Tim just for being a guy, because you know I don't pay attention to men much. Pass men by and like, oh yeah, I remember. Oh yeah, shake your hand and stuff. Yeah, hi guys. Shouldn't you be out looking for women? Kidding. I'm kidding. Mostly kidding. Kidding a little. No, I'm kidding. Tim, this blonde kid, very country boy looking, but just an innocent dude, you know. We were practicing fake fighting, and he accidentally hit me, and he like ran away, like he was scared that I was gonna seek revenge. I was laughing at him. Yeah, that was a nice one. You got me pretty good. I think that was the point Miss Muth really realized that I was a genuine badass and not just some fucking kid posing. Nope. It's a fucking accident. I'm not gonna be all butthurt about it. I've taken punches for worse reasons. I'm just still not been interested in you know, inflicting me upon someone. It's just not very nice. You probably wouldn't wish that upon anyone. And if you would, you must really not like them. But again, knuckles don't start looking like this on their own. And I was never really a puncher. Much better with my feet. And yes, even in my old age, I still keep my legs in good practice. Well, ish. Not compared to the way I used to be, boy. Ooh. I used to be fast enough that my default move, like for a knife or a gun, was with my foot. But those are stories we don't get into on YouTube. But the story we're trying to get into, I'm just trying to give the background on the people of the time so you can understand how clearly I remember. Okay. Susan Muth. Leslie didn't know her last name. Rebecca Wilson. Tim didn't know his last name. The black girl Tiffany. And there was Roscoe. Roscoe was the guy that was there because it was, you know, less homework. He could act. You know? There's people who can act. Like they can lie, basically, so they can act. He had highlights, very well tanned, Italian. I think his last name was like Tortellini or something. Then there was Jennifer and Kelly. Kelly I'm still friends with. I'm not going to tell you her last name. And Keith wasn't there the whole time, the whole 4 years. They were in different classes. Then my senior year I wound up, I think, with them. Or was it my junior year? I don't know. Keith, the guy that I got in the funniest fight of my life with. I'm still friends with him. But anyways. Most of these people, Keith, very life experienced. Acting came naturally to him, but I don't know how diverse he would have been. No offense, Keith. But pretty diverse, because he definitely had a fucking goofy streak. But I wouldn't picture him as a song and dance man. I know it's far too easy to picture me as a song and dance man, isn't it? Probably because I fucking sing and I'm goofy. Yeah. I can... As long as it's choreographed. Don't ask me to just dance. Then you will see some awkward shit. But if you teach me what to do, I can fucking do it. Although the only thing I could monologue for you is from the Rocky Horror Picture Show. It is what it is. So, anyways, now that I've given all the necessary background information, I want to give the crucial piece of information that really needs to be undertaken by a Library of Congress type investigation. I mean, the Mueller probe. Unless they are doing a historical national security blanket investigation that goes back 30, 40, 50, even years, connecting CIA documents from 70, 80 years ago and applying them to our understanding of what the fuck happened to this country. Something that like that needs to be done, and this is to document a personal account of some information I think is relevant. I've said recently, and people have investigated and confirmed, that large acting agencies who are basically meant to provide extras for large productions have been used as political crowd tools. Like fake crowd tools. To, like Donald Trump's fucking first rally, he hired a bunch of people to just sit there and be the people at the rally. Now he still to this day hires a bunch of fucking people to be there at every fucking rally and to sort of bandwagon and cheerlead. And their main objective, unfortunately, has been to lower the bar of what is socially taboo. That's deplorable. That's what that is. I apologize for the awkward phone position. My phone is charging right now. Ugh. And I gotta blow my fucking nose, so I gotta mute it again. Okay. Oh, ear fucking popped. So in 99, I think, possibly the summer of 98, possibly the summer of 99, there was a large company and I don't remember the name. But it was like Red Line Extreme or something, like fucking some goofy corporate sounding name for an acting agency. Kinda. Only they wanted you to pay them $500 to list you on this website. And the website was all red and white. And they had banners and printed shit and decorations and stuff in this place at a office building they had rented out on Causeway Boulevard in Metairie. I fucking wish I could remember the name that was on there. It was all big red signs with white writing, or white signs with red whiting, you know, like juxtaposed. And I could see in the lines just some yuppies, some normal people, some just regular morons. I could act. People looking for a job, that kind of thing. Some people who seem to know what it was about without having been told. I'm like, how the fuck do you even know what this is about? This is weird. And they were just all ready to sign up. Maybe they'd talk to somebody in advance. I don't know. But there wasn't anybody above like the age of 30 there. And there was not a single person who seemed to me to have any potential as a great actor or even a teacher. There was no one there who could recognize talent if it stared them in the face. You see what I was doing there? I was implying that I was talented, and I was staring them in the face. Yeah. That's a good way to get yourself a job, by the way. Just go in there and just be like, yes, I'd like this job, and I'm going to stare at you until you give it to me. Do I have the job yet? Am I hired? Guaranteed, they'll just snap you right up. All right. God, my stomach hurts. This is not stopping. I don't know what I do. I just don't want to think about it. Well, yeah. So anyways, they didn't have any interest in me. They weren't even so much as trying to like make an extra effort to sell me. They weren't even making an extra effort to try to get my money. It was as if they realized, here is a smart person. We don't want him here. That's a creepy fucking feeling. Yeah, kind of like YouTube. Oh no, there's somebody who's actually aware of the shit we're up to. Oh, hi. If you're a real person, you must say hello, because I find it very interesting. I say YouTube again. I said it earlier in the broadcast. Someone showed up. And I said YouTube again. Now I see a person. Johnny Feathers. Who are you? How did you find this broadcast? I've never seen you before. Therefore, I don't know if that's a real name that you have there. Because you see, the people who fuck with me just tend to change screen names. Oh, well, good for you. Although that statement could be true for certain other people. But, I was pointing it out more in jest because it seemed a little quicker than the response would be. It was more like an amusing sort of irony. So, anyways. Yeah, if you were the one we were talking about, you probably would have said something obnoxious already. But you probably know who I'm talking about then. But thanks for watching, and thanks for letting me know that you're watching. It's getting more and more depressing, wondering if anybody even fucking has benefited, you know? Because otherwise, this is a lot of time I've been wasting, you know? A lot of time. Should have just, like, wrote a book, you know? I always figured the things I had to say would be more credible if I would, you know, just hit record or something. Not edit, not be one of those people who have the little clips between everything they say so you never get to hear them breathe, right? But actually just, like, you know, just sit and fucking stare at my fish tanks and talk about what's on my mind. Actually from my head, not from a fucking prompter. But anyways. So the point I was trying to make is I forgot to mention, I think, I don't know, maybe you remember if I included it, but I wanted to make sure I mentioned that not only did these people seem to reject me, you know, I mean, like, it wasn't just that I didn't have the money, okay? I've been in sales. You don't stop just because somebody says they don't have the money. Right? That's preposterous. They didn't ask any questions. They just took my sob story for what it was and just, like, weren't fucking paying it, like, weren't even listening. They weren't trying to make money off of me. There was something about me that rubbed them the wrong way. Now, you know, the inventory job with the ponytail, they didn't like the ponytail. I've been on a few job interviews. I've applied for a few different jobs where I know I didn't really fucking belong. Not many. But you can always, you know, tell. Like, okay, yeah, there's obviously going to be better people for me than this shit, you know, right here. This is acting. I've been in fucking 4 years solid of acting. There was a bunch of really not very attractive morons all around me, combined with clueless yuppies. That was the mix, okay? That was the mix. Here I am, not boasting, potential to be like an Anthony Hopkins type, right? Gary Oldman. Pull off anything any of those people could do because I have the life experience. Most of those things that they've done acted. I've come close to experiencing in real life. As have they, in some cases. That's what makes them great actors. That and, you know, opportunity and connections. I didn't have no fucking opportunity, and I was trying to get a connection. These people wanted $500. Now, I've been trying to sell things that were $6,000 and $10,000 to people that were as broke as I was. You ask questions. You try to get them to come up with the money, right? None of that. Now, that's a little more clear than I was last time, but I more or less explained that. But what I didn't mention, what I wanted to make sure I mentioned, is that there was no Muth there. There was no Kistner there. There was no lady with the glasses. There was no gay guy saying yes or no. You know, like, there were 3 mid-20s grocery store managers. Denny's waiters, like, not Denny's, but like Bennigan's. What's a restaurant? Chili's? 3 fucking Chili's assistant managers. Those type of people. Sitting at a table. Their little polos and their red polos with a little white fucking logo on them. And when I think back, you know, I was watching this guy that plays Renji on the Bleach movie. It's a fucking priceless piece of acting he did, okay? Something that takes a real understanding of that character. It's very well casted, you know? Not well casted for the look of the guy, per se. A lot of people would probably complain about that. I know my kids did. But, you know, a fucking genuine samurai badass with, like, spiritual rage. Fucking, well done. That's something that's valuable in the acting world, right? People like those kind of movies. There's a lot of those type of guys, even as extras, even as bit players, that are needed. How could they be this well-funded and, like, you know, they got 30 fucking employees there to interview a bunch of extras? They're just like people just lined up, just standing there with polo shirts. Here, this way. And proceed down this hall. And here, fill out this. Different person taking your picture. And just a lot of different fucking people. At least 16. I don't know about 30, but at least 16 fucking people. Sitting here, like, you know, going through it, trying to count. You know, I only went to this particular building inside of it once. I don't remember the floor plan or anything, you know. There was like an outer reception, little fucking hallway, and then a inner area where they had people sitting at little regular desks, not the little half desks with the bludgeoning instrument just waiting to be ripped off, like actual desk with a chair, like, but still school desks, which kind of weird too. They must have brought them with them, because it was basically like a hotel converted into an office building on Causeway that they were in. Anyways. Not one person seemed to me like they could recognize the talent than it would take to be Renji on the Bleach movie. You know, when you go into a job interview and you're talking about your relative skills and experience, I've done this, I'm good at that. That's when you're supposed to say those things, right? The people you're saying those things aren't supposed to roll their eyes at you for having experience, for being potentially good at the job. And that is the vibe that I got from these people. They weren't looking for anyone with any experience or intelligence. And in retrospect, not fucking one of them was capable. They just weren't the types. They weren't even the middle person. They weren't even like the naive, unexperienced, lifelong acting types. No. They were the, I can act, maybe. Even if they were that. I don't even know if they were that. They didn't even seem like that. They didn't have like the personality. You know, like even those fucking, like Roscoe Lombardi or Tortellini or fucking Lamborghini, whatever the fuck his name was. Fresco, I don't know. Roscoe Fresco. That would be a cool fucking name. He was a cool guy. You know, he was a cool guy. He was outgoing. He had personality. Like, he could sell you a car. I bet you he could sell you a fucking car. If he became a car salesman, I'd buy a car from him if I had, like, money. Or like a lawyer. He'd be like a good lawyer. Like, make you feel good meeting him and seeing him, you know? Like, that should be the type of people that were at this table. At the very least. Not Chili's assistant managers. Not head cashiers. These people couldn't even make it at the front desk of a fucking auto lot. They didn't have the personality. These people were as bland as fucking bland could be. There was a white guy, a darker skinned guy, and just like a girl. Like generic resting bitch face, white girl, brownish red hair. Generic looking white guy, generic looking, I don't know, half black, half Latino, slightly more athletic guy. Indeed. But the point I'm trying to make is that this level of funding, the amount of people that they provided, the signage, the advertisements, the website, everything. If they weren't some kind of bullshit con artist thing, they should have had somebody experienced there who could actually recognize a fucking actor when they saw it. You know, like, if you're doing job interviews, you don't let the HR department hire for the service department. Because HR don't know nothing about cars. Who hires the service guys? The service manager. Because the service manager knows the fuck about cars. Who the fuck are these people? What the fuck did... They didn't know shit. They didn't ask... Like, I'm sitting there, I'm claiming, right? And any real acting agent, coach, teacher, professional of any type would have asked me for an on-the-spot monologue. And guess what? I had several ready. I had one from the Glass Menagerie that was fucking hilarious. Opium dens, mother. Oh, yes. Opium dens. Dens of vice and criminals' hangouts. Anyways. I'm going to carry a violin in a... wait, I'm going to carry a Tommy gun in a violin case, mother. Oh, I wish I could remember more of it. It was a great monologue. I'm in too jolly of a mood to blasely quote it right now. And then there was this weird one that I can't remember any of from, oh, that's the reason I can't remember it, because they made a movie about it and Michelle Pfeiffer was in it. So now I just picture Michelle Pfeiffer's face and it's like brain melts because, you know, it's Michelle Pfeiffer. Who the fuck can think about anything else? Like, oh, Michelle Pfeiffer's face. The thought has come to an end. I'm going to think about something else now so I can stop thinking about Michelle Pfeiffer's face. Yeah, back in the day, exactly. Oh, you bastard. You know, if you've ever seen Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas, sometimes I remind myself far too much of Hunter S. Thompson. We can't stay here. This is backcountry. I had to change it to live chat from top chat. Not all your messages were showing up. God, the shit they fucking get away with. Just a little fuckery, little bit of fuckery at a time. Super chat and fucking top chat and Snapchat and crap chat. So anyways, the Bleach movie. Pretty fucking badass. They finally, if you have Netflix, they had it in Japanese with subtitles. They finally dubbed it. If you haven't seen the cartoon series Bleach, I highly recommend it. And let me just say this. For the first several years that I heard of it, I heard the name Bleach, and I thought, another stupid anime. I was mistaken. It is in fact named Bleach to pretend to be stupid so that it can continue. Because if it was named appropriately, it would have been canceled. Because it's that fucking insightful. Yes, I agree. This is definitely one of them. I've seen a lot of like those pinnacle animes. Back in the late 90s, my sister, actually early 2000s even, my sister had been living in this like multi-rental room place with a bunch of other college-age people, and one of them was a Japanese studies major, and he, well, first of all, listened to a lot of KMFDM. But he introduced me to all the Soul Hunter and Full Metal Alchemist and Vampire Hunter D and like a bunch of shit that I can't remember the name of. Some of which I can't remember at all, but I remember like how awesome it was. Sword of the Berserk. I'll write that down. That sounds fun. Sword of the Berserk. But so Bleach is like Bleach is like a completely irrelevant name. I don't know, like that's the only theory I can come up with on why they called it Bleach. Like, we got to call it something stupid, because if we call it anything indicating how cool it is, assholes are going to come and fuck with us, and it's going to get canceled, and people are going to, like, no. Like Heroes is canceled. Jericho's canceled. All the really good shit that really, like, opens your mind, canceled. I think, like, you know, like, there's Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, okay? Then there's Jericho, Heroes, Bleach, Bleach, Bleach 1, Bleach, you know, like, first Bleach, 2 Bleach, 3rd Bleach, because the president, oh my god, no, not the president, I have the urge to fountain shit on my own head. I want to have, like, such bad diarrhea that it comes out in a solid stream, and I want to bend my ass up and just shit into my own face for having said that. Okay. Yeah. It's what the muses are trying to tell through any means that they can, and it's the story between the lines in the Bible. And Bleach, man, I'm telling you, it's almost like a lifetime that I dreamt of. You know, I had this reoccurring dream back in my, like, middle school and high school exorcist days that kind of went on into my 20s and all the way until I was 30 or so, where I kept on dreaming. back in fucking high school and fighting demons and shit, and like, it's weird because I went to so many different schools that, like, the school in the dream wasn't any of the schools. It was just like a conglomerate of all the schools. And then the people there, some of them weren't even people from school. They were just fucking people from all kinds of different schools and different places and shit. So it's like seeing this show with the plot that it has, and then also it's taking place in a high school setting. It's very ironic. Very, I don't know, just fascinating. Gives me a whole lot of deja vu. And what I like about it is that it really commits you to understanding a world that is just not based on the rules that you've been taught apply. Like, the world is flat, the sky is fake. They don't talk about it, but it's just so obvious. It's like demons fall down from a world that's above the world. Kind of the same way stars fall here. Yeah. Yeah, Japanese art seems to be good about spiritualizing aspects of self, and they're not afraid to discuss demons, at least as metaphors that take physical form, or passed on spirits. Often is the theme, like the theme common to Final Fantasy and Bleach. Okay, a spirit, like a human or otherwise, that is consumed by a certain aspect, by a certain demon, kind of becomes a minion of that demon when they die. And it's really not far from the truth. Really not far from the truth. Now, what I like about Bleach is that it's basically it's a Christ story. You know, like the same way the Matrix, or what you call it. They said what was the one with the animals that they said was like a Christ story? Narnia, Chronicles of Narnia, right? I don't know if I agree with that, but like, you can definitely see how the Matrix would be a Christ story, right? Including with people seeming to pray to a man, for his success to save the world, right? And in the same way people seem to accidentally call out to Ishigo in Bleach in times of need, implying the same thing. I mean, there's a lot of deep personal conflicts that let's just say I don't feel the need to talk about on YouTube, but suffice to say, it indicates to me on a personal level a level of understanding that only the muses could possibly have um, co-instigated. You know, there's this story about, you know, life and death, and it's got um, these different archetype hollows, the espada, that each represent a different aspect of death or senescence, or like they're archdemons basically. And each reaper, they don't talk about it, but each reaper is like each captain of the Soul Society has a different sort of aspect to them of how they approach philosophy and civilization. Hmm. Yeah, there's so many aspects of like my childhood as an exorcist in New Orleans during fucking middle school and high school. And things that I experienced with Azarkael and the Redheads and all the different little Coven wars, and that all get brought out in these different little Japanese things, always in Final Fantasy, and never more so in any other anime or manga or anything that I've ever seen than Bleach. Maybe I just haven't seen enough. I've seen a good bit though, but nothing sucked me right the fuck in like Bleach, man. It is it's a telling of a time before time. It's kind of like an eternal reality that existed before this world, that laid the foundations of this world, that continues to be the vibration that holds this world together while so many different forces try to pull it apart. And it reminds me of that time, that place that on the other channel we determined to be the post Eden civilization on the southern coast of what's now Pakistan. But there's something transferent about that memory that I don't know, makes me think it has something to do with, or reminds me of, or resonates with the feeling that there's something so ancient about Japan. Now, if you think about it, if you've seen the video where I explained all of this geographically with the maps and everything on the new Lost Begotten channel, Anatolia and the Persian Gulf and that whole area could have been a lot closer to Japan before the first big cataclysm, before the realms collided, literally, physically. I always get distracted by picturing that level of destruction that no human mind could possibly comprehend. But let's see, the town people created cities, right? So there might have been a pre-flood civilization in Japan. That would explain why a dragon would want to take up residence there. Nostalgia, stubbornness, that kind of thing. Trust me, we dragons are rather prone to it. But then again, I say dragon, and you're picturing something with scales. Well, back in the time when imagination was more powerful than science, imagine that. Imagine a time when there was a piece of tobacco on your phone. Now, imagine a time when all the kids weren't taught about the physical nature of things, but were taught about the magical nature of things. What if reality is scientific because we're all taught science? If that's the case, then in a world where all the kids are taught magic, you can imagine dragons. And you could probably be one if you wanted to, if you got pissed off enough. A leviathan, that which you call a dragon, is a form taken by an archangel or archdemon, a foundational spirit that is given basically a license for wrath. Usually for a purpose, for some sort of nudging that will benefit man later in history. But often vengeance. And there was obviously the one vengeful Leviathan that had to be stopped before it turned reality into a mass suicide event. Anyways. But that's the result of heartbreak and loathing and the genuine argument made against God that shit is unfair that allowed an archangel to become a fallen Leviathan, one meaning to destroy the world. So you can take that level of angst and like what you might see in some Japanese animes is like someone being overwhelmed to the point where they just become a fucking demon, right? Well, that's a similar process by which an archangel becomes a Leviathan. And those Leviathans are what are referred to as dragons. Any archangel or arch being that has been tasked with destroying a continent or a world or a people, forever that soul has the rage of the beast, the rage of a beast. And, you know, having destroyed the world a couple of times myself, it's only honest of me to call myself a dragon. Or at least part dragon. Yeah, berserk is an interest, like just the word berserk gets me interested because it's an ancient word and it has a very specific meaning to me, having been a defender of Europe against berserkers. Now, berserkers were Scythians that painted themselves with Sapphoon? Sarathun. I can't roll my G. There's no language that I know of that still uses that vowel or consonant. Yeah, consonant, yeah. Sarafo is this toxin from a flower that grows north of the Himalayas. No, I've never been there in this lifetime. No, I've never seen this in this lifetime. I've already looked it up and found it, though, after remembering it. So I'm sure you could do the same if they've, you know, kept the internet functional in that area. What they would do is they would paint their cheeks, well, depending on their rank. Lower ranks would paint their whole faces, sometimes their whole bodies. And the more you paint yourself, the more you'd lose fucking control. And it gave them, like, not superhuman strength, but gave them, like, adrenaline, that constant adrenaline burnout type of strength. And those were called berserkers. That's what the word berserker means. They would go through rituals where they would invoke the spirit the night before battle. And they would get painted, and they would sleep with the orange paint, and they would wake up demon-possessed, basically, the next morning. So having not seen your little show, I wonder if that makes you think about anything contained in it. If it's on Netflix or Hulu, I'll be sure to check it out. If not, I'll try to find it on YouTube. But other than that, it's That's all the different wares that I use. It's bad enough that I can't even trust those wares. You would think major corporate fucking software apps wouldn't be so prone to corruption, but oh well. Cyber is king. Putin is a strategic fucking genius. Yep, they certainly feel like 10 men. Trained properly, they could probably take out about 3. They were nothing to fuck around with. And they were big, too. Skylians were fucking big dudes. Hairy fucking... hairy shoulders. They came in all different shapes and colors, though. Some looked European, some looked African, some looked Asian. They all had foreheads that sloped directly back because they would wrap the children would have their skulls wrapped from birth to prevent their temporal lobes from forming. So they were close to non-sentient. They would gain extreme sentience when the demons would be inducted into them. But that's what the word abomination means. Okay? Abomination doesn't mean 2 boys sticking in each other's butts. Okay? Abomination means selective breeding of warriors in order to destroy other cultures. That's abomination. You know, the first experience was the Nubian. That's why you have the skull wrapping tradition in Africa. Africans don't come from Africa, though. They come from India, the magical island of India. And after years of Aryan and Asian subjugation, intermixing, and then years of British colonization, you have the modern Indian. I don't remember anything happening 4 billion years ago. I mean, I have no problem picturing that amount of time. I just don't remember it. Like, I remember the beginning of existence, and it just doesn't seem that far away. If I had to place it, I'd say it was about 12,880 years ago that time began. but physical reality. Understand this. Before the world taught all of its children science, and the world became based on science, and the sky above you and the ground below you became a scientific thing, everyone believed in gods and imagination and power and magic. And the world that is now observed as scientific was created by magic, by manifestation, by expectation, by the future past. We have the ability to create these things in the future, so they are created in the past by us perceiving them as scientific. And it is that scientific building block and awareness of reality that makes reality a commonplace. If it wasn't for that, reality could still be divided into realms. Does that make sense? Like a realm is like a star. Like it's a completely different fucking place. And in the old reality, if I wanted to take a bunch of wives and have a bunch of children and start my own fucking place, that place would no longer be accessible if I didn't want it to be. It could be a completely different reality. And those places exist. Up there now. But this place, this is a place that we all agree on based on the laws of science. And that's why we perceive it as a place built by science. Now, did these processes occur over billions of years, or did they occur in the blink of an eye? Yes. Until you understand that both of these things are true, you can't really, I don't know, you can't really travel to the stars. Right. I know, it's just on topic. I like to elaborate on things. It's a moment that I contemplate often. The actual like the moment the program went live, you know, kind of the moment the encoding was activated. And it's a deeper thing than the biological process, but it's a profound moment to consider conceptually, especially when you take that dual view of reality and think, okay, so if that happened in a scientific process, and then complex life emerged from that, what I like to do, and I don't know like how much bearing this has, but it's a fascinating thing to think about, and certainly there's a lot to be learned from it. You take all those different primordial stepping stones of evolution, right? That are somewhat evidence-based, somewhat theorized, right? But still, they're stories that mankind is telling. So they're being told for a reason. And it doesn't take much to see the aspects of social order forming, the aspects of communication and strife and lust and taking and defense and compassion and all the little things forming little by little based on this self-encoding program. Now, did the archangels, this is a really fun thing to think about, okay? Did the archangels start as these things? Before time became constant. Did the archangels take the forms of primordial organisms as they developed the primordial aspects of thought and interaction? I think it very well might be, okay? And I think that is the reason why you have different ancient organisms symbolizing different ancient gods and beings. And you have this weird, almost fluidic extrapolation of existence that, you know, we call evolution, but every time I hear someone speak and logicize about how evolution supposedly occurred, they wind up using a grammatic device that should be very familiar to them and should make them question what they're saying. It's called personification. Not something I really ever found difficult on a multiple choice test. This is personification. C. It's a simile, it's a metaphor. It's personification. You see, there wasn't like a lizard with 8 legs and a lizard with 5 legs and a lizard with 2 legs and like a lizard with a fucking leg on its forehead, and just like all the different things that DNA could do. We've definitely observed that DNA can do some wild shit, okay, when corrupted. But that's not what happened. Ride the snake to the lake, baby. The ancient lake. But like 7 miles. The Blue bus is calling us. Fuck, we're gonna be late. Anyways. No, but like, there's personification in every educational documentary and every fucking paper, every explanation. They're talking about things evolving as if they chose to. And it almost seems like these generations are learning, and somehow their DNA has responded to what they learned. And it has adapted. It's not like there's 50 different fucking mutations. We don't find a bunch of different things that happen in increments. We theorize. We find little bits and pieces and say, oh, this must be this, because we need it to be there. But that's not what fucking happens. And then, not only do the basic adaptations seem to have happened throughout the record, guided by consciousness and explained whenever they are explained through personification, because that's the accurate description of what happened. It's they seem to want to do this, so they wound up doing that. They seem to want to turn into this, so they wound up turning into that. They needed to do this, so they developed this. Oh, did they? How? Did they beam up to the Starship Enterprise and alter their genetic code and then beam back down and say, hey, we're a different fucking animal now? No. And then you have the cuttlefish. You have Myrtle. You have the Hysius macaw. The peacock spider. You think there's a record of every incremental step of a spider? That one spider just decided to grow a little bit of a peacock feather, and then another spider wait, oh look, I'm using personification. Spider can't fucking decide shit. It's a spider. A spider should have no idea it has anything on its back like that. It's a spider. It's art made by a creator. You can't expect a microchip to program itself. You can't expect DNA to improve itself. You can't expect DNA, just a series of chemical fucking combinations, to come up with the idea of color-changing camouflage. Myrtle can turn blue. Okay? Myrtle, the Aiptasia-eating filefish that I have, she turned blue. I've never fucking seen that before. To the best of my knowledge, they can't turn blue. They don't have the chromatophores for that. Supposedly. But she decided to fucking turn blue. And she turned blue. Because Smurfette, the blue damsel, was pissing her off. And I must say, it worked, because Smurfette freaked the fuck out. But that is an amazing ability. That fish, as far as I can tell, can't even see its own skin. As far as science can tell, they can't even see color. Yet somehow, a random chemical reaction, a random chemical mutation, that is, cellular degradation, basically, a mutation, a foreign substance of some sort, has reacted with an existing organism that couldn't change color. And then, because of this random thing, suddenly, it could change color. But wait. Then, it has to spawn. With something that isn't like it. Because the chances of such a genetic mutation occurring are already impossible to begin with. They're not just unlikely, they're fucking impossible, okay? But even if you just pretend that mathematical impossibility, and if you calculate the odds, you're way beyond mathematical impossibility. Even if you just pretend that mathematical possibility isn't a thing, and that this, somewhere along the lines, a filefish developed the same ability as a cuttlefish. It would at that point be a different species from the rest of its cuttlefish. You wouldn't find two mutating in the same way. So then, what you're saying is that all these adaptations, not only did they occur, which is fucking impossible, but then they were passed down through hybridization with a yet unadapted member of the species. If I'm a genius and I breed with a dumbass, my kids are going to be half dumbass. If I'm tall and I breed with a short person, my kids are going to be medium-sized. If I'm a fish that can change color, even a little bit, and I have babies with a fish that can't change color, chances are those babies aren't going to be able to change color. Especially if my height or my intelligence was anomalous. You see, like, if we have a person who's born with a third nipple, or, you know, a fucking arm coming out of their forehead or something, you know, like, chances are they can still breed no problem, as long as, you know, proper gestation and natal vitamins and things like that, okay? God is a romantic. Remember that. So are a lot of beings that have created a lot of things. Very romantic, very silly, very artistic, okay? But just think about this. You have an arm on your forehead, like a little baby arm, you know, just for shits and giggles. I'm just random mutation, you know, like a fucking cleft ear, a hair lip, or something like that. No one in your family before you had that mutation. your kids, even if you have fucking 50 of them, guess what? They're not going to have the mutation either. Because that genetic cellular degradation that caused you to be a mutant doesn't get passed down unless your balls are mutants. If you have mutant balls, then you're having mutant children. If you don't have mutant balls, you don't have mutant children. You just have normal fucking children. Your DNA is determined by the best of the two parents. And an anomaly, even if the mutation was a giant dick. Okay, I have a dick that I can beat fucking small dogs to death with, okay? Not really, but say. Like, you know, like elephants get jealous, okay? Like, if I could find a woman that could fuck it, unless I come from a long line of men with elephant dicks, my son is not going to have an elephant dick because that was a genetic mutation. And I don't get to decide. I don't get to use personification. Oh, one day this human passed on his elephant dick. No. I mean, personification applies. If I had, you know, an elephant dick in a box, I could pass it on to my... You know. But a turtle doesn't decide to make a more ridged shell. Doesn't decide to develop paws instead of fins. It's not just one day that, like, mama had a baby and it came out fucking retarded looking, and then baby had more retarded babies. No, baby found another fucking baby. No, they can't. Genes have been speculated to do that, but there has been actually no up or down species migration recorded by science at all. It has only been archaeologically theorized, okay? We dig up shit in the past and we connect it together with our imaginations. There has been no species observed in real time evolving. There's hybridization. There's slight changes due to nutrient intake. Okay? A bird lives in a different place for a while, their fucking feathers start to form different colors. Okay? That's something that people should understand pretty easily. You know, you want a bunch of yellow and green and red vegetables and you get a balanced meal. that shit's not hard. But if I have an anomalous mutation that doesn't get passed down, a genetic trait, there's dominant and recessive genes, those get passed down. Okay? Dominant, recessive, that gets passed down. Random mutations are generally caused by catalysts. And unless that catalyst is present during the next gestation, you're not going to have an evolving. Now, when you see sideways species migration, that is a species developing into a subspecies of that species, what you have is a repeating of the catalyst. Okay, that is a fucking sparrow gets lost somewhere. The food that it eats changes. Its babies look different than it. That must be what I'm eating. And those babies are going to have babies that might even look a little more different because they grew up, their DNA, as it replicated, was given different trace elements to replicate with. That, you know, is how DNA changes from parent to child. It's a matter of the trace elements. Like when your balls are building sperm, okay? If there's like, you know, one material that's usually what it uses, but that material is not present anymore because you no longer have that in your diet, or there's different quantities available, things get mixed up differently. But you see, the thing is, imagine replicating that experiment. Just that simple process right there. What kind of an advanced computer would it take to make those calculations? What type of a scientific genius, what type of a creative genius would it take for that process to succeed effectively and not just go to shit? I mean, when you think about it, people should just be having babies that melt. Unfortunately, geniuses tend to have less children. Stupid people tend to have a lot of children. Hence the movie Idiocracy. And if you haven't seen that, oh, it's fucking priceless. In fact, it's happening in real time. Yeah, and another thing on that note, Myrtle, if she was the only filefish who could color change, all Aptasia eating filefish can color change. You might not see them color change that often, but they do. Most people don't notice them because they don't pay much attention to them because they just buy them to eat their Aptasia. But I think this fish is like a fascinating show fish. Like, she's fucking hilarious to watch. He or she, I'm not sure anymore. I think it's a she because it doesn't have the bristles on the tail. Yeah, I think that's what we had determined before. Anyways, if Myrtle was the only filefish to gain this ability, they would be a genius. They would be a savant. They would be a weirdo. They would be a less likely candidate for breeding. Not more likely. Nope. Just because you have a giant cock doesn't mean you're the most attractive man in the world. Just because you have big peacock feather spiders, spider feathers, whatever. Spider feathers. Be a good name for a band. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Spider Feathers. And they'll come out with like, never mind. Okay. But look at it this way. A female peacock spider isn't looking for the next evolution in male peacock spiders. It's looking for a perfect peacock spider. It's looking for everything to be in place. Okay? That's what gets fucked in nature. Not the weirdo. Not the freak. There's there's the freak that wants to fuck the freak. And but that's not gonna populate the planet the way it's been populated. That's not gonna show the record that is shown. Just not gonna do it. It didn't do it. It's not there. People are making shit up. And if you think that every woman wants to fuck the guy with the giant dick, you've never seen tentacle porn. And it's like, okay, if you're talking about a recessive gene, then the weird fish will have sex with a normal fish and they will have some weird babies, but mostly normal babies, okay? But that doesn't happen with mutations. Mutations only become recessive genes when those mutations are caused by repeated catalysts. For instance, the Acadian heart valve mutation that I have. It keeps my heart from beating properly, but it also keeps my heart from being one that can explode. That is the result of, yeah, it doesn't close properly. Savvy? So it can't overpressurize. I'm sure scientists, even like Jim Alexander, the man who wrote the book on this shit that cardiologists read every day, my uncle, he probably theorized with his evolutionary teaching that this is just a random mutation that occurred that got passed down. That's not the case. That random mutation occurred after a massive migration, causing a vast change in nutritional intake and situational interactivity as far as chemicals go, and a lot of inbreeding. Talking about an isolated population. People were marrying their cousins for fucking generations. Okay? If somebody randomly had a heart valve form this way, they would breed with someone who didn't have a heart valve form that way because it would be a random, isolated thing. And that genetic code would not be recognized. It would not physically be able to be passed on to the children. It would be discarded. Well, you can't blanketly just like inbreeding, rape, and murder must have been the way back then. I mean, if you've watched my broadcast for years, I suggest you watch some more of them more thoroughly, explaining exactly how history came to be. And this particular migration, the Acadian migrations, were the result of the horde taking over an area now, I think, in Kazakhstan, but basically Persia, old Persia, before the Persian Empire even. And those people moved to France and the north of Spain for a while, and then were pushed out through many different political strifes and genocides and inquisitions and things like that, and first settled in Canada, and then many of them came to the Atchafalaya Basin to hide out. And from there you have the progenation of Jean Lafitte. Those are the people I'm talking about. Cajuns, Acadians. Now, what you're talking about is basically a society formed from scientists, engineers, aristocrats, philosophers, artists that had to go live in a swamp for their survival because people were hunting them. Because they had this crazy idea that Jesus was married to the goddess. And, yeah. Everybody who thought that in Europe got killed. So you can imagine these people weren't exactly social. And that's how you got the inbreeding. It's not a matter of, there are a bunch of fucking morons fucking their sisters. No, it's a matter of there's not that many people around. And it takes at least a population of about 2,000 to avoid inbreeding over time. When you're dealing with a settlement that starts with 200 people, yeah. But, that might have been one of the reasons why this area became such an intercultural part of America, because like the ones who remained educated were interested in fresh stock. Like, we need to get some foreigners in here so we can fuck them. I'm tired of having to go to cousin grandpa's house. Excuse me. Oh sure, because people don't know their history. What's left of humanity are tribes of refugees and tribes of slaves and former slaves. Think about the current state of the human being. Their awareness level, their cognizance, their abilities. Consider the horde. For thousands of years, has been taking entire villages, moving them into Siberia, brainwashing them, breeding them, sending them back. And then you've had their victims. Entire villages, entire countries, entire areas just saying, we can't fucking stay here anymore. We gotta go. And they go hide somewhere. For several hundred years, they were hiding in different places in the Americas. But there's been different isolationist pockets and different mountains in different regions all over where people survive the horde. So you have these different little isolated places where people are surviving. And then you have these isolated, inbred, sometimes abomination armies coming to get them. And then you have, over time, some of those nations resettle, repopulate the areas, and now you have the world that you live in today. And I feel like a smart person. I observe myself as having many more talents than most people. But I still know, compared to what humans used to be, I am defective. This ain't it, people. This ain't it. Anyways. I think clownfish breeding will teach you all you need to know about evolution. Okay? You don't simply get two clownfish, put them together, and they have babies that look just like them. It's all about the trace elements. The way they wind up genetically evolving in their own lifetime. Okay, that's what happens. People genetically evolve during their childhood. Okay? Your DNA, as it continues to replicate, absorbs different trace elements in your environment and decides, based upon those trace elements, personification there. Yeah. DNA, a fucking chemical, can't do that. The guiding spirit of your DNA that is there to ensure your survival, as long as you're in a state of harmony with yourself, which most children are, will allocate different things to different parts of your body. Like in a clownfish, it'll develop the gills and the bone structure differently. Just slight variations will occur based upon the different levels of different chemicals in the water. And then the patterns, the spots, the stripes, that's not just genetics. It's a lot to do with genetics, but you can't make premium Picasso onyx fish without premium Picasso onyx water. You have to have the minerals in there for their DNA to do what their DNA wants to do. Otherwise, their DNA is going to do something else. That's situational catalysts that repeat over time. Like the reason why onyx clownfish exist to begin with is a situational catalyst that repeats over time. They are not a random genetic mutation of a Percula clown. They're still a true Percula clown. I have an onyx clownfish and a true Percula clown getting along just fine. Probably going to... Actually, I have two different pairs of onyx and true Percula. The true Perculas are from my babies, and the onyxers are ones that I bought. One's from ORA, one's from Pro Aquatics. But anyways, in the wild, an onyx Percula clownfish becomes an onyx Percula clownfish after years of living in a particular condition in tide pools. Okay? So what they wind up dealing with is two factors that form their patterns. The increased amount of white that you see on some of them, the different excessive barring, that's from the increased salinity and the increased concentration of all the trace elements, okay? The blackening of the skin is a long-term result of the type of anemone that lives in those tide pools. And the constant stinging adds not only a different trace element, but a different genetic material that gets broken down and seems to affect the skin coloration. And it reacts to an existing part of a clownfish that's meant to respond to that. You know, there's already the black that's going to be there and form in certain amounts, but in these clownfish that live in the tide pools over generations and live in these really highly toxic stinging, really harsh stinging anemones called carpet anemones, they wind up getting this beautiful, beautiful, deep black in between all their stripes. And they wind up having stripes that grow in more different places than the regular clownfish. Now, if you take some onyx clownfish and you breed them, the first generation will be semi-onyx. Not all of them will get the full black. And you'll be pissed. Then, do what I do. Go talk to Rod from Rod's Food. And he will teach you how to make an onyx clownfish. The DNA is not enough. You can't just take a true parcula and turn them into an onyx. But an onyx will eventually, over generations, turn back into a true parcula. I don't know about all that. It's a I wouldn't call it artificial intelligence, but then that depends on what your definition of artificial is. Your DNA is basically a dual resonance that is a crystalline manifestation of guidance. Yeah. It's not quite, I mean, you can't really call it like an artificial intelligence. It's more like a Coraline intelligence. And even then, it's not really Coraline the way most Coraline intelligences are, like a demon or a hollow or something like that. Being crystalline, it is a sentient form factor that is created by two other souls and then projects those two souls to continue to form the offspring. And it's a sort of an echoing of the parent's spirit that actually does the guidance of the replication and actually forms the persona of the AI, if you want to conceptualize it like that. So there's like a man's voice and a woman's voice that decides on all your genetic activity. Anyways. This doesn't have much to do with acting. But fascinating nonetheless. What the hell was I just talking about? I think I was done. I don't know. But I'm going to go ahead and wrap the video up here shortly. Let's see, was I going anywhere that I didn't finish? Not really sure. If you could remind me of anything, be happy to finish explaining otherwise. Yeah, no problem, man. It's kind of what I do. There isn't an aspect of this world or of the problems of society and arguments and conflict and all the bullshit that people seem to be dragged down by that I can't just slap you in the face with logic with. And there's, in addition to the basic wisdom that I try to convey, there's the reason for the wisdom, and it's calculated based on projection. Okay? These things that I say people need to get right, I can see a future. Okay? I can extrapolate the future. This is how it's going to go if you don't get these things right. This is kind of how it's going to go if you start talking about these things and becoming aware of them. And the cranial-rectal syndrome ends. And I mean, like, everything. From the electric grid to the recycling system to our fucking food and water, governments, courts, prisons, everything. It's all being done wrong. Plato's cave. Yeah. Plato's plagiarism, you mean? I remember the fucking cave. And it's a lot more than an allegory. It's something that's natural to all sentience, okay? Not just humans. And what the cave is, and I will explain it to you in a way that hasn't been explained to mankind for at least 1,000 years. The cave is the rock of your earth. You're trying to find your way out to the surface of your own world. It's an actual cave that your mind makes, that's your reality, that's your future, that's your potential as a child of God. I am the onion. And the flesh. And the husk. And the root. And the farmer who planted it. I remember more time than even exists for you humans or the devil themselves. And yes, plural. But anyways, that's why I'm here, to fix all of humanity's fuck-ups. But they don't want me to. Yeah. Anyways, Yeah, you must not have seen enough of the videos, because I've more than proven exactly who I am. Oh look, the lights flickered right when I said that. I'm guessing from the vibe I'm getting from you that you didn't see, for instance, when lightning struck my house during a live stream on a desktop computer that wasn't hooked up to a generator. The power went out for a good 3 minutes on the live stream, and I kept it going. Now, often we have a little bit of a chemistry issue in a transformer around here, and the power will go out during the day. And my wife, my kids will be here. Power goes out. And I go like this. And the power comes back on. And I mentioned that years ago. I don't know if I'd believe it if somebody told me. But then, yeah, I was making that little live stream back there in my bedroom on the desktop. The generator is on the porch and runs by extension cord to the fish tanks only, and has to be manually done. Okay, I live in a fucking trailer in the country. This is I don't have an automatically kick on generator. Like, I always try to think of, like, what would I have had to have done to pull that off? Those things are out of the question. But you can see, I start to glow and phase out, and yeah, the live stream on the desktop computer just keeps going. I'm thinking it was either the desktop or the laptop that doesn't have a battery. I didn't even have this laptop yet. That's fucking crazy. Yeah, there's still the skeptical human side of me, which marvels at my own existence and marvels at the fact that, as much as I want this to be a delusion, it's not. But so you don't know that this is actually Merlin's wand, then? You should go see the zoom-in videos and observe the hieroglyphs and try to catch the story in which I explain how it, well, shouldn't even exist. Shouldn't be here. It should still be in New Zealand. But, you know, all of reality proves me right. It's just a matter of observing enough information to have that realization of exactly who I am and why I'm here. Again, not intentional with the blanket thing. Just how I fucking stay warm. But anyways, Jonas means dove. Jesus means I am in Gaelic. I'm Gaelic. My name was John. Jonas. The dove that descended. It's all just lost in translation, I suppose. Nice to meet you, Jonathan. Mine is a more ancient pronunciation and a skewed spelling, encoded, if you will. Sean. Same name. But the J that we now have comes from an old sort of a YSH sound that, speaking of Sean's, Mr. Conway has joined us. And then you have in France a mixture of the two pronunciations where they spell it Jean and it's pronounced Jean. Oh man. I can remember thinking in French, but it's like, I know if I start trying to speak it, it'll just come out in nonsense. Something close to French, at least. Oh, look, and there you're talking in French. I couldn't even see it. How do I go away? All right, I'm just gonna not touch it. Go away. Okay, it went away. But anyways, yep. You should probably play catch up. It seems like something you'd be interested in. And I'm always open to analysis. I'm always open to debate. I'd rather somebody convince me that I was wrong, because my life would be a lot easier. A lot easier. A lot higher likelihood of success and happiness if I just wasn't that guy. But, you know, some things that I've cleared up that only I can clear up. What was I doing for 18 years? Nobody seems to know about the 18 years. It's pretty obvious, and you've got a lot of it recorded, actually. You just don't realize it's the same person. You got the dates off a little bit. First, I was a scribe. I was a slave. Made to work in a temple for the high priest. He owned me. Then I was a mercenary because I got sold to somebody else. And then I won my freedom as an officer, basically earned my way into becoming head of security, gained an untrustworthy man's trust, got my freedom. I think he was actually afraid that that his wife was wanting to fuck me. Thought thought if I was free, I could, go and fuck other people. If he kept making me sleep in his house, things might have gone differently. But anyways, he wound up trying to, ordering me to kill his father and help him take his land. And that was just southeast of Bavaria. And we were on the other side of the river. More in like East Germany. Trying to like pick a modern town that's nearby it, but it's kind of like in between Munich and Berlin and Strasbourg. Anyways. So then I kind of led a bit of a rebellion. And died and came back the first time. I was reborn at that point in a time where births were still tracked and reincarnation was still tracked. And I was reborn to my wife. And then she died at childbirth and was reborn 6 months later. In a little town called Bethlehem. Now, what's funny about Galilee in general is that it wasn't a Jewish settlement, it was a Roman settlement. That's why the Pharisees said, "You can't be a son of David. Aren't you a Galilean and the son of a carpenter?" Jews didn't carpent. They weren't carpenters. They didn't carpent. Well, anyways. So yeah, I've talked a lot about the actual events and the politics of the time and the lost romantic story that is retold in several ways in coded fashion, as are many of the stories from the 1,000 years that followed. The most prominent place to find these stories is Shakespeare, including very specific references to lost esoteric knowledge that explains, so much about the past 7 years. Oh yeah, all in Shakespeare. Yeah, the stolen writings of Merlin that that Bacon, Francis, who, by the way, coordinated the execution of my grandchildren. And then Shakespeare. Oh, that's an offensive name. Why is it offensive? Probably because of that scar. Right there. See the scar? Yeah. I don't like spears. You know what's interesting about the Spear of Destiny? People picture the spear head as being the spear. That's not the spear. I know. Intimately. That's not the spear. The spear is the little thing that looks like a nail that they have inside of it, wrapped in it. That's the spear. That's what left that scar. And if you know your military history, that's what a Roman javelin looks like. Now, what I find fascinating or entertaining is the sponge thing. If you had a blunt-headed spear and you tried to poke a washing sponge with it, you'd have to be really talented to lift that shit up, especially filled with liquid. But a javelin, on the other hand, like a shish kebab, just people read things and they don't make sense the way like they're taught, and they just accept, well, I get taught this, so that's it. And if what I get taught turns out to not make sense, then the whole thing must be bullshit, and I don't believe in God anymore. And they can't just think, well, maybe these fucking people are just morons, and maybe there's some truth in there. So let's see. This was a time in which men of military age were, generally speaking, drafted or taken as slaves. Okay? And by military age, I mean the ages of 9 to 30. Okay? Oh, wait. Wasn't there someone who was life story kind of missing a chapter from about the ages 9 to 30? Oh. So is there any other evidence? And I've done this before. This is all recently on the new Lost Begotten channel and my archives of videos on this channel. I'm not sure whether any individual one is public or not, but the Johannite genocide is certainly a good one to check out. That was when I was remembering these things in real time. But is there any evidence in the Bible, in Scripture, in quotes, that the baby Jesus was a mercenary? Well, he knew he was going to die when he said, "Those who live by the sword die by the sword." Was he speaking metaphorically? Was he giving the lesson that you were taught? Are Christians pacifists? Oh wait, here we have one of them things that doesn't make fucking sense the way we're taught it. Should we give up and abandon faith, or should we fucking read the book and see if it makes sense for ourselves? Should we learn about history and context and culture and actual facts and see if we can apply them logically? Oh, what a concept. Is there any more evidence that Jesus was a mercenary? Remember that little thing about a temple? Money changers turning over the tables, fucking the place up, destruction, vandalism, starting a riot, if you will. Did you ever ask yourself, okay, these weren't like New York accountant Jews. These were the Jews, okay? These are fucking Israelis. This temple, the nature of the people that were pissing him off, they're money changers, right? Now, what I can remember, and I can't really show you any scriptural reference for, is that they were exchanging people for money. They were taking slaves as currency and exchanging people for money so that the money could be donated. Actually, so that the people could be traded for livestock, because a lot of people would come from different places all over the world and actually expecting to be sacrificing a human because it was less valuable than a cow. Okay? That's the world that existed before religion. That's what Bill Maher wants to go back to. Fucking morons. Well, anyways. But that aside, even if they were just bankers, this is a Roman-occupied area. This is a Roman-occupied temple. These are Roman-protected bankers. These are men who can afford slaves and mercenaries of their own. They have guards. They have henchmen. They have protectors. Nobody's walking around with fucking gold and currency and shit without soldiers nearby, right? So this guy, single-handedly fucks their whole shit up. Now, just getting back to my human side for a second. I am a man of much experience when it comes to violence. Okay. You don't accomplish something like that without a notable level of training and experience. Not only was Jesus Christ a mercenary, but he was probably one of the most terrible motherfuckers you've ever seen or heard of in your whole life. Those who live by the sword die by the sword. Yo ho. Caesar had taken a cue from Augustus in his campaign against Hannibal and made use of what is now known as the Marines. Okay? And what's funny is that the word that I remember for Marine sounds like a more legitimate version of the people that Robin Hood hung around with. Mermen. Merry men. Mermen. These were sailors, fishermen, often could write, often played musical instruments. Carpenters, craftsmen, smiths. They could make their own weapons from rocks. Many different things that are found that are maybe out of period. Probably just from some crafty mattermen who didn't have the right metals handy. And they were sort of a rentable police. Okay? They were assigned, they were deployed based upon request, based upon bribe, based upon need, based upon pleading, based upon friendship, based upon love. Yeah, I really want to fuck that woman. These people are fucking with her. Send some of those guys there. Tell them to send her back. Oh, we're protecting your land. Spread them legs. Let's have some babies. Okay. Anyways. But then after the Trumpism of the time led to the fall of Rome, these same men, some of the most well-traveled men there were, like, aristocrats and people who considered themselves educated in their little closed worlds, didn't compare to the fucking wisdom and knowledge that these people who were slaves at some point, owned by these ignorant fools, just didn't compare, Like as closed off as the world can be today. Imagine it without the internet. Oh, pretty fucking ignorant people. And they had some Greek friends. Which was funny because Greece was abandoned. They had left Greece and came back. They had resettled Greece. They were the real Greeks, supposedly. And they've been accepted as the real Greeks ever since. They weren't Greeks. They didn't even look like Greeks. Nothing like Greeks. Greeks were some very distinct, weird-looking people. Very hawkish, very... Have a good one, Jonathan. Anyways. So they were establishing trade and political and weapons and different associations with very select Roman aristocrats, the douchiest of them. And these aristocrats came up with this rhetorical nonsense about them being the voice of the people. And they would spout all this populist rhetoric, making the people think that they were just on their side. And all they wanted to do was have the privilege of serving politicians. And they got the people of Rome to turn against the soldiers and the officers of Rome. The national security establishment, if you will. The national security establishment was warning against increasing trade ties with certain areas. They didn't want to listen. But yeah, I've told this story a bunch of times now. I'm tired. So anyways, I'm not sure if I died or was knocked unconscious. It does make a little more sense if it's a continuous life that I'm mistaking for two, if I consider that maybe I was knocked unconscious. I wound up in an island prison with a single window. I don't remember any guards. I just remember they locked you in there and they left. On a boat. There were some... I don't know if they were... Well, they could have been indigenous, but... They were like some islander group of women that cared for the prisoners. And most of the prisoners were old men. It didn't seem like it was a big part of their lives. You know, like we were just something they had agreed to have, and they felt bad for us. But it was their island. They were some sort of Polynesian. They almost looked like a Aztec or a tribal pre-Mexican, but like a almost Filipino. I don't know. But they were nice. The food was very interesting. I'm not sure whether to compare it to Mexican or Chinese food. It's like these little pinched bread pouches with mixed seafood and seaweed and stuff in it. They're pretty good. I mean, when you're that fucking hungry, anything's good, but I could probably eat one now and like it would taste okay. Nothing like anything I've eaten this lifetime. I definitely prefer a crab cake. Anyways, there was an older man that I wound up making friends with. He claimed to be a noble. I didn't believe him, but he wasn't bullshitting. And he was the brothers. Augustus's son's brothers, like the heir, his brother, and then Claudius called him uncle. Man, I'm trying to remember the relation to this guy. He wasn't related to me, he was related to the Roman aristocracy. But anyways. I wound up being caught trying to escape. Not like in a bad way, like I couldn't really communicate in in a language that I was familiar with, but there was some kind of second language that I knew a little bit that I could talk to the women, the caretakers with. And I found out that their sons were taken from them. And when I was trying to escape, they asked why. Like, what would you do? And xenophobia was a pretty normal thing at the time. They were told that all white people were xenophobic. They were somewhat xenophobic. Um, so the idea that I might find one of them attractive didn't really occur to them. And I didn't like have one in mind when I said it. And I wasn't trying to flirt with the woman who caught me because she was kind of older and heavy. But I said I would settle down there. Well, let me escape. I don't want to be in this cell. I don't mind being on this island. I don't want to stay in this cell. They could have been Turkic women, come to think of it. They're very, like, reddish skinned. That's all I remember. Very reddish skin. Very Asian looking, but, like, out of place. Just, anyways. Notably out of place. But anyways. I'm trying to remember. How I got, Hussein out. Same. Fuck is that guy's name? Oh, can't remember it. I think I read it, and I'm trying to remember the correlated what I read. It's like, you kind of remember what you read, and kind of remember what you remember, and what you remember that you read. Neither one. So I wouldn't be able to verify what I read unless I could remember it. Just like I wouldn't be able to remember what I remembered unless, or verify what I remembered unless I read it, per se. Anyway. Now, I don't think she set me free. I think I wound up escaping and Just like they were afraid of me at first. Thought I was gonna hurt them. I had to explain I'm not gonna. I think I laid on my back, like surrendered to like just I'm not a threat to y'all. And now they weren't worried about anybody coming back like immediately. It wasn't very often that anybody came there to drop off a prisoner, but like it was a it was a mild concern for them. Okay, what's gonna happen when somebody comes back and you're free? And that came up as I was discussing. Can we free this fucking old guy? He seems perfectly fine. You know, there were some old guys in there that were fucking crazy, and there wasn't much that could be done for them. They basically wanted to be where they were, or they wanted things that they couldn't have. It's funny. I think I remember him wanting to stay in his prison cell like a room because he didn't want to live in the little treehouse huts and shit. He didn't want to live with the islanders. He wanted to stay in the Roman built prison, even though it was a prison. Anyways, oh, there were men. Holy fuck. Wow, that's really random. There were some men that the tribe there kept secret, like in the middle of a forested area on the other side of a mountain, on the other side of the island. And the fucking Europeans just never saw them when they came. And it took me a long time. It took me until I was trying to build a boat. And a guy out of nowhere came up behind me and told me I was tying something wrong. And showed me how much more flexible the ropes that they made were than the ropes that I was used to, and how to tie this this joist together on the pontoons so it would be more flexible and react to the waves. And they had a whole little separate village area. With a big dirt clearing. No break from the canopy overhead, but like a big dirt clearing covered mostly by trees. It's weird. That implies that they were afraid of dirigibles back then. Now I know dirigibles are old, but damn. And again, how do you operate a navy without a dirigible? Kind of hard to keep formation, that's all I'm saying. Oh, okay. Anyways. So, got off the island, went to the south of France. Hail Caesar. The end. I'm tired. Gonna go ahead and call it a broadcast now. I have no idea how long this just went. Whoa, 2 hours on a phone. Okay. I'm expecting my hand to be really cramped by the time I put this phone down. Anyways, thanks for watching. Thanks for hanging out and chatting, y'all. Don't forget to click the like button and stuff.